Hello, it's Rachel here. I haven't been on for a while. I thought it was about time I came on and gave a bit of an update about how things are going in New Zealand. Compared to the rest of the world, we're doing quite well here when it comes to COVID-19. We had a second outbreak in Auckland. So Auckland has experienced some restrictions, going back down to alert level 3. The rest of the country was in 2, and in the last couple of weeks we've stepped down a level. So things are sort of feeling a little bit more back to normal. So we feel quite grateful to be here in this country. We haven't had that many deaths, and yeah, it's been pretty good, but you know, it's very difficult for businesses, especially small businesses, and quite a few of those have gone under, unfortunately. Anyway, things are kind of interesting here in New Zealand at the moment. We've had, and this will be of interest to my ex-Jehovah's Witness friends or viewers, there is a cult in New Zealand called Gloria Vale. It's a cult with about 600 members living there in a facility, a type of a commune on the west coast of New Zealand's South Island. And it's basically started out like a family. So a lot of the people there are related, and they have extremely large families, like 10 plus children. I think membership has been a lot higher, but quite a few families have been leaving over the last few years. So this cult has been in the news quite a lot lately because there is a charity organisation that started up recently called Gloria Vale Leavers Support Trust. It's essentially a charity that's been set up by a church to help those people leaving Gloria Vale, because those people live there and work there. That's their entire world, and they have no money of their own, basically. So when they leave there, they just leave with the clothes on their backs, pretty much, and maybe a few small personal effects. But you know, when they leave, they have no home, no work, no toys, no clothes, just the kind of uniforms that they wear there. And they do wear a kind of, a uniform that some may feel is fairly quaint, but not when you have to wear it. Of course, the women are all expert sewers because they have to sew their own clothes. But it's a very isolated kind of group, although they do, once a year, I believe, they host a concert at their commune, for want of a better word, to which the public are invited. So I don't know if this is their way of trying to get past the public benefit requirement for charities in New Zealand. They are actually a registered charity, and they run some very, very successful businesses. They work the members there like slaves in these businesses. So there is a little bit of contact with people outside of Gloria Vale, customers and clients and things, and they have farms, and yeah, it's quite a slick operation, and I imagine they probably are quite profitable. However, they won't be paying taxes on anything because they are a registered charity, so they get tax exemptions here in New Zealand. Anyway, in the news, this new trust that has formed has been helping those people leaving Gloria Vale approach the various government agencies to get some kind of action taken about this cult, with not much success. For some reason, Charity Services in New Zealand, which is under the umbrella of the what's it called? The Internal Ministry of Internal Affairs. Yeah, so it's not actually an independent thing. They have failed to take action with Gloria Vale. Apparently, when they were pressed recently to do a further investigation because of the oppressive nature of life at Gloria Vale. They said it wasn't oppressive enough. Absolutely insane. Anyway, a very brave man who left Gloria Vale in 2017 has now filed a lawsuit against the leaders of the cult, and has got some top name lawyer involved. And so this has been in the news, and then we've seen other people like a human rights lawyer and others have chipped in, and so we're seeing a little bit of momentum gathering here, and the people, there's a bit more of an outcry from the public about, hey, what is going on at this place? You know, these peoples have no rights, they have no autonomy, they can't make their own decisions. And at Gloria Vale, it's very extreme. You know, they pretty much can't choose who they will be married to, and they marry very young. It's kind of sick, and their work schedule is just unbelievable. The time they have to get up in the morning, and it's just unrelenting, and there's just so much wrong with it. So that's very interesting, and I've been in contact with the lady who seems to be the one in charge of this trust that's helping the people leaving Gloria Vale, and I've shared with her, you know, some of the problems that Jehovah's Witnesses have with the shunning, because at Gloria Vale that is also how they control people. They basically, if you make too much of a noise, complain too much, then the leaders, it is within their power to separate you from your family. So, and that's exactly what happens with Jehovah's Witnesses. Our families are weaponized against us. You know, you can't just leave, you just can't walk out, because you know you're going to lose dear relationships. So it's the same thing. So I'm really backing this Gloria Vale Trust, and I really hope they have success, and I think if they do, it would be really groundbreaking. You know, all these organisations that have similar controlling practices will perhaps come under the spotlight. Oh, Spotlight. That was a good movie. And we do have some Scientologists in New Zealand. Apparently they say there's about 5,000, but in the last census there was only 300 and something. But still, you know, and they practice disconnection, so I don't know if there's any disconnected Scientologists in New Zealand, but that's another organisation that has charity status in New Zealand and needs to be looked at. So it's really quite exciting what's happening with Gloria Vale. Do check them up on Google, or I might put some links in the description below this video so you can check out that cult. There's been a few documentaries about them, mainly PR stunts from the leadership. You know, they invite the camera people in and the TV people in, but then they put on a show for them, so they don't really get a true indication of what life is really like there. So that's changing. It's changing a lot. So that's great. Something else I've done recently, and it was kind of about the same time as this Gloria Vale stuff started, I decided to write again a complaint to the Human Rights Commission. I did 3 years ago and got a pretty unsatisfactory reply from them. So I've written it's like a 9-page email to them this time, and it's focused on shunning, and I've included a lot of links to videos. I've kept it pretty specific on that because I think that the shunning is the biggest issue, because you know there are lots of other forms of abuse in the organisation, but you can't walk away from the organisation because of the shunning and being cut off from your family. So I think that's the biggest thing, and it very clearly contravenes all the international human rights treaties, and unfortunately there doesn't seem to be any protections written into the Human Rights Act here in New Zealand, and even the Bill of Rights. I mean, I'm only a layperson trying to understand all this legal stuff, all the laws, but to me it seems that pretty much religions get away with all kinds of abuses because they're a religion, and religion is deemed not to be in the public sphere of life but in the private sphere of life, and the Human Rights Act only addresses things which they say are in the public sphere, like access to education, access to services like shops, housing, things like that. So that's part of my complaint to the Human Rights Commission, that there is a big gap in their protections, that people like myself and all my ex-witness friends, ex-exclusive brethren, Gloria Vale, you know, we're all left unprotected. Our rights to our family are not protected in New Zealand, and quite unbelievably, even inmates in prison in New Zealand have their rights to see their family protected. Yet us former members of religions do not. And so that really, really has to change. Anyway, so I'm waiting to hear back from the Human Rights Commission, and they say they should get back to me within about a week, and we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, this hate speech stuff is interesting too. I was watching John Cedar's channel, and how the organisation had claimed that he was inciting hatred towards them through his speech on his channel, which is, I mean, what a nerve. This is the organisation that speaks disparagingly of former members all the time, calling them poisonous mushrooms and Satan's helpers in his evil kitchen, and calling us predators and insincere and deceitful liars, you know, infectious, mentally diseased. So what a nerve. And I see John Cedars today just posted another video with Anthony Morris's latest morning worship talk, where again he has a go at apostates, Jehovah's enemies, and relishes the day when they will be eaten up by worms and destroyed by fire. Although he didn't say it would be literally, but I'm sure he'd absolutely love that. And he'd probably like to have a front row seat too. Anyway, so in New Zealand as well, there has been a call to introduce a hate speech law, because we don't have one, especially following the terrible attack last year in Christchurch at the mosques, which was just unbelievable, dreadful thinking about it. So there does need to be some kind of protection, I think, but I'm wondering, will a new hate speech law also apply to those religions who are spouting out hate about former members? It has to apply to them as well. So, but anyway, we've got elections coming up. If Labour gets back in, they say they will be looking at this. National, if they get in, they're not interested. So we'll see what happens. The election is later this month, because it's October already. Yeah, it was supposed to be September, but COVID made it, was put off to this month. So anyway, we'll see what happens then. And it's all quiet on the witness front here, because there's no meetings, although twice in the last few weeks I've bumped into one of my persecutors, one of the elders, which I endearingly call Laughing Policeman, from my judicial meeting. I've seen him twice, you know, in the 7 years since I saw him in that room when he was part of the judicial committee. So yeah, but I haven't seen, you know, it's like I'm on a different planet. I hardly see any of them at all, even though I live down the road from the Kingdom Hall. Anyway, I will leave this video for now and keep you informed as things progress. Okay, bye.